Coastal dune ecosystems are globally in peril. People want to live there. It's beautiful, attractive. We're going to explore the Morro Estuary Greenbelt, a corridor on the sand dunes surrounding Morro Bay, home to a unique suite of 40 listed species of animals and plants. The primary threat to this ecosystem is the loss, fragmentation, and disruption of essential habitat. We will learn about what property owners are doing for preservation and how the community can contribute. We'll see a little of who is there or might be passing through. When you take a walk, do you sometimes imagine who or what else might be there? Some places are so fragile they could be lost unless we understand where they are and what they mean for wildlife and people. Did you ever wonder where the wildlife corridors are?
I'm glad I finally got you guys out of the house. It's beautiful hiking out here.
Yeah, I guess this has better graphics than my Xbox. Maybe we'll see some wild animals. Hey, what was our homework assignment? Oh yeah, all those science vocabulary words. What's a corridor?
You mean C-O-R-R-I-D-O-R?
I guess.
What comes to your mind?
I'm not sure. A route or a trail? Isaac, do you know what a corridor is?
A freeway, a link, maybe it's a path connecting two places. Troy, what do you think a corridor is?
I think it's a picture in your head, a map, like a linear landscape, a passageway where there's migration, movement, and freedom.
Oh, is it like a hallway connecting two rooms?
Right. What good are rooms without ways to move between them? How long could we survive? I think you need the whole house to make it work.
They might be strips of land that animals can use to get from one habitat to another, with cover for animals to live in and go between their homes. The habitats are like rooms in a house, and the corridors help animals move between them.
Oh, I'm remembering now. And when a corridor becomes blocked, it's called fragmentation. Mom, do we have corridors in our neighborhood? Are we in one now?
Maybe, but even though I live here, I'm not really sure. We could ask...
Hey everybody, I've got my new iPhone with me. I think I can get on the internet out here. Maybe I can find out what other people have to say about wildlife corridors.
That's using a communication corridor to find out more about corridors in nature.
I always thought that a corridor in nature connected habitats and helped biodiversity. Or was a natural area that contained cover for animals to live in, not just go between their homes. I guess we could ask what's not a corridor. When there were few people, everything was either a home or a trail.
Whoa, check this out. There's a wolf called OR7 following corridors from Oregon to California. Scientists are following him on GPS, but I think the wolf is creating his own journey. That's why people are calling him Journey.
What did you call him? 007? There's a wolf named 007 traveling hundreds of miles. There must be really big corridors for wolves, grizzlies, and mountain lions, and really little corridors for snails, butterflies, and bees.
Sounds like 007 is on an anti-extinction migration.
Jalen, I'm going to start calling you 007. I really want to know what else you discover about wildlife corridors. Don't forget to study your other vocabulary words, too.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot more words on our list. Wilderness, purity, wildlife core, ecology, urban, patches.
We have other ones, too. And they all relate to wildlife corridors. Buffer, conditions of habitat, invasives, rivers, greenbelts, and immigrants.
Now I really want to find someone to ask about preserved land and wildlife corridors here in our own backyard. I bet we're hiking them and driving through them without realizing it.
Wouldn't it be something if we were on the moon looking down? We could see the big picture. Zoom into the local map, then zoom farther into exactly where we are. We could see the preserves we have and how the corridors connect them. We could see who is there.
Journey, the OR7 wolf, might say,
I have in front of me an unformed landscape, what we are in when we don't know where we are. I am a walkabout, a wanderer, loping on a quest. You know, you're born, then you grow up, and you just have to go out there to find a mate. I'm in crisis. I've been traveling far, 10, 20 miles a day through wilderness, national forest, detours through farms, perilous passages, even over rivers and roads. I wonder if someone could trace where I've been and tell me where to go next. Will I find my true partner? With room to roam, is she just over the next hill?
OR7, or Journey as he is now known, traveled from his natal pack in Oregon all the way to California in search of a mate and creating a new family. He wonders, what's next?
We're next. Hi, I'm Gregory Garindo.
I'm Justin St. John.
And I'm Madeleine Haim.
We used to go to Los Osos Middle School. We started the Earth Club in 1999. We transitioned the California Native Garden to the indigenous, native to the dunes around Morro Bay landscaping for the school's Growing Nature's Garden. We are back today to find out the current story of the Morro Estuary Greenbelt. Who is protecting the ecosystem, and how a wildlife corridor runs through it. Once this land was intact, unaltered by man, but as development clustered around the bay, a corridor was left as a kind of horseshoe shape, surrounding the more dense urban area. We are going to interview the private property owners in that corridor of coastal dunes and ask them what they own, what they are doing to protect their lands, and what they need from their community.
Here we are at the first core piece of the network of preserved lands in the Morro Estuary Greenbelt, Morro Bay State Park. I'd like to introduce a representative from California State Parks, whose mission is to preserve the state's extraordinary biological diversity, to protect its most valued natural and cultural resources, and to create opportunities for high-quality outdoor recreation.
My name is John Sayers, and I'm an environmental scientist for California State Parks here in San Luis Obispo Coast District, which stretches the coast from Montana de Oro State Park all the way to Limekiln State Park up in Monterey County.
What do you have?
Within Morro Bay State Park, we have about 2,800 acres of grasslands, hills, rocky outcroppings, the estuary itself. It started as a park back about 1934 when the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration folks came to town to convert the old country club into the golf course and campground. And originally it was Morro Rock, the campground and golf course itself, part of the estuary, and Black Hill. And then later we added the Cerro Cabrillo properties across the road, the Powell properties behind the Los Osos Middle School, and parts of the estuary, more of the estuary.
And the creeks, those two creeks?
So the reason the estuary is here is we have Los Osos and Chorro creeks coming into the Chorro Delta, creating such a rich diversity of habitats. You know, there's hundreds of species of birds present. We have about 67 species or listed rare, threatened, and endangered species and habitats in the area. So it's quite a diversity.
What are you doing to protect this property?
Mostly what we do is we try to keep track of those rare, threatened, and endangered species and habitats and protect those, protect cultural sites. Biggest threats that I deal with on kind of a daily basis are weeds coming in and taking over habitats, encroachment, volunteer trails, people going off habitat and trampling habitats, dogs off leash in the habitats and in the wilds chasing wildlife, things like that.
And what do you need from the community?
From the community, we just need support for them to understand that these are treasured resources that they should be wanting to protect. You know, they should be coming out and helping to protect these and save these for future generations, for their children and their children's children. Without the public's support, we get funding cuts every year. We don't have enough staff, and the workload seems to grow with all the environmental review we have to go through, protecting the cultural sites, the natural sites, keeping the weeds out, keeping the people in the designated areas. It seems like more and more work for us, and having the public out there on work days, volunteer events, working with volunteer organizations like the CCCMB, the Coastal Mountain Assistance, the Trails Committee really helps us out on just getting work done and keeping the parks nice for everyone forever.
The El Morro Elfin Forest Natural Area is adjacent to the estuary and owned by San Luis Obispo County and State Parks. It is managed by the Small Wilderness Area Preservation Chapter of SWAP in Los Osos and Morro Bay. Their mission is to provide a way people can preserve important natural areas of undeveloped land or small wilderness areas for the public. The Elfin Forest consists of 67 acres of ancient sand dune and 23 acres of salt marsh.
I'm Ron Rasmussen. I'm with the Small Wilderness Area Preservation, and the acronym is SWAP, so we go by SWAP.
What do you have?
We have in charge the small wilderness area in Los Osos, which is the Elfin Forest Natural Area. It's actually a county park and state park, but we have a formal agreement with the county to take care of this area.
What are you doing to protect your property?
We do a number of things. One is to actually use fencing to prohibit access to certain areas, to prevent them being overrun by people using the wrong techniques. And we also remove a lot of invasive, particularly veldt grass. And once we do that, we find that the natives will come back and take over again without any change. And we also do erosion control, and we provide mutt mitts for people who bring their pets into the elfin forest.
And what support do you need from the community?
First of all, we need volunteers. That's been a particular problem. We need volunteers to come out and help us in what we're doing in these things that I've just mentioned, erosion control and weed control and so on.
And where can people find out information about volunteering?
There are a couple of places. One is our monthly or bi-monthly newsletter, which you can find either on our website or you can call up and we'll send you one. The website is www.elfin-forest.org, and if you go to this website, you'll see many things about the elfin forest and all the information you can possibly want. There's also an interactive map that you can access on the website. We'll show you the location of the elfin forest in relation to the rest of the world.
The next gem of the Morro Estuary Greenbelt is owned by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM. The BLM is an agency within the U.S. Department of the Interior, which administers America's public lands. These lands fall under various categories of use and preservation. The acreage in Los Osos is proposed for designation as an area of critical environmental concern. The mission of the BLM is to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of public lands for the use and enjoyment of the present and future generations.
So hi, my name is Amy Kuritsubo, and I'm a wildlife biologist for the Bureau of Land Management out of the Bakersfield Field Office.
What do you have?
So the Bureau of Land Management has 5 acres across the street from the Los Osos Middle School. We purchased this in 2001 because it's habitat for the Morro shoulderband snail, the Morro manzanita, and several other rare and sensitive species. And the area is also part of an area that contains many places that are important to Native American peoples. And as you mentioned, part of the Bureau of Land Management's mission is to help protect and preserve important cultural and biological resources like those found in the Los Osos and the Morro Bay area. And one of the things that we often do is to partner together with others, like here in this Morro Estuary Greenbelt project. And I think that that's really important in California because we have such a diversity of cultural resources and biologic resources that there are so many places that we can work together to protect. And one of the things I personally like about this Los Osos parcel that BLM has is it's such a small parcel, but it can still make an important contribution to the overall project. And I think it's a great reminder to remember that we shouldn't underestimate the value of just doing some little things.
What are you doing to protect your property?
Well, BLM has archaeologists and biologists that inventory and monitor the lands. And because the dune vegetation is really fragile, we're trying to prevent new trails from becoming established. And we also want to try and restore vegetation on some of these trails. We're concerned about the invasive species like the veldt grass and the ice plant on the area. We also would like to reduce the amount of trash and other foreign material on the parcel, such as pet waste and paintballs. And then, as you mentioned, we're going to designate this area as an area of critical environmental concern.
What do you need from the community?
Well, the community's already done much to help BLM. They've done a lot with removing the veldt grass and the ice plant, so we're hoping that they'll continue to do that. People can spread the word about how fragile the vegetation is and why it's important to stay on the trails. People can continue to pick up after their pets and help keep all the parcels free of trash and other foreign materials. And then I think that if people see something that they think that BLM should know about, or there's something that we need to do, they should call us and let us know so we can take care of that for them.
E.O. Wilson might say,
"Did you ever study ants as a child? How did they follow each other? I discovered chemical corridors that ants leave, and corridors for wild snails, butterflies, and bees. I described the evolutionary and ecological processes occurring through corridors. Within groups, the selfish are more likely to succeed. In competition between groups, groups of altruists are more likely to succeed. You could say that is a corridor of trust and gratitude."
E.O. Wilson was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for General Nonfiction and was one of Time magazine's 25 most influential people in America. He just finished his 30th book, The Social Conquest of the Earth.
Young adulthood is a key period for developing awareness and positive attitudes toward nature. Some schools have programs to teach and experience local biodiversity, and habitats are even growing their own native landscapes. A living laboratory on site. The Los Osos Middle School has a contest, and the winners will share with you why they care about learning about and working in one of the rarest ecosystems in North America. The entire 7th grade has a curriculum about coastal dunes, inside the classroom and outside where they are restoring the land. The new Growing Nature Garden Fund has been set up to support the contest and program materials.
So at this time, what I'd like to do is introduce Ms. Stoneman to come up and present some awards to some students who participated in the Coastal Dunes Awareness Project. Ms. Stoneman.
Okay, good morning. So everybody here has participated in making the Coastal Dune Project work through your science classes. How many people in here have participated in 7th grade science? You've done 7th grade science in here. You either this year you did it or last year you were a 7th grade science student. Okay, so all of you guys got an award for our school. And this started in 2000. The first year I started teaching, somebody said, hey, we're trying to buy a bunch of land around the school and around Los Osos and protect it. The bay was filling up. We were building a bunch of houses, and the bay was filling up, and it was smothering the fish, and we were having problems with the fisheries, and all the fishermen were upset. They were losing their businesses, and we thought, what can we do about this? So they started a fund to raise money and buy some of the properties around here. Right across the street, bordering our school, they said, we'll make a deal with you guys. If you teach the kids at the school about what's here, we'll give you a cheap price on this piece of property. And so we got the grant, we got the property, and for the last 12 years, 7th grade science classes have been learning about what's here. We have one of the most precious plant communities on the coast. It's called Coastal Dune Scrub, and it's basically a coastal desert, but the plants here are really special because they change the sand into soil that other plants can use to grow. And all the animals that live here are specially adapted to this environment. So we needed you guys to know that. And you guys did a great job. We've restored areas all around the school and made this a living classroom. And I know for you guys it's just been, yeah, we're getting out of class today. Like, we're gonna go pull weeds, woo! And then you've done a really great job of passing on every year new seeds to grow into new plants that the new 7th graders go out and plant and learn about this, and you leave a legacy. And it's been going on all around the campus for 12 years, and somebody was really impressed, and they gave us a bunch of money. So I said, all right, we're gonna set up a fund, so thank you, Dr. Pruitt, who set up our Growing Nature's Garden Fund. And we thought you guys deserved some of this money. So what we wanted to do was we held a contest, and I could get up here and blah, blah, blah. This is why we're doing it. But I thought it'd be great if we had some students make a presentation or do a speech or somehow represent Los Osos Middle School. And there's a bunch of money that I have to give out today for the top 3. And so we had a couple of people who did some really outstanding things to represent Los Osos Middle School's effort to restore our local habitat. And I wanted to get them to come up and give them their awards. So 3rd place goes to Jeffrey Mason. So come on up, Jeffrey Mason. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. And you get some money. You want to check it out real quick? You get some cash for this.
$25.
Nice. Good job. 2nd place, we want to bring up Clay Gargiulo. Whoa, way to make an entrance. And we're just really proud of the time that you took to speak on behalf of everybody here.
$50.
Good job. Clay, come back. Come back, Clay. We're going to make you stay up here. Come on over here. But for the 1st place winner, I really wanted her to come up and read a little bit about what she wrote in her speech to represent really why this is important, and that's Jenna Rodden. She gets $100. Come on up, Jenna. Jenna Roden, sorry. Jenna Roden. Yay, Jenna. Congratulations, Jenna. And I would like for you to just read a little bit about what you wrote. Here you go.
So, by landscaping the campus with native plants, LOM students have helped protect the habitat and restore it to its original form. Every year, new seeds are sowed for the following year, and the baby plants from the past year are planted all over the campus to bring beauty and help bring us closer to nature. Since development has wiped out much of the native habitat for local animals, and the animals need the native plants so they don't become extinct, we need the help of everyone in the community to create gardens that are full of native species in their own property. And then it skips down to another paragraph. Many people have already gotten involved in aiding the partners for the conservation of the Los Osos coastal dunes, but we still need more if we want to save the native species. If we don't want to see these plants and animals disappear forever, we have to do something to converse and restore that natural habitat for them so they have homes again.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say we're really proud of you guys for representing everything that's been going on, and you guys have all participated and made Los Osos Middle School proud, and we still need more volunteers to help us with this, but thank you for leaving us with such a positive legacy to pass on to next year. Thank you.
Good job, you guys. Excellent.
The next property in the Morro Estuary Greenbelt belongs to the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo County, a local nonprofit which has served our county for over 25 years. Through voluntary and collaborative measures, the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo County works to permanently protect and enhance lands having important scenic, agricultural, habitat, and cultural values for the benefit of people and wildlife.
Hi, I'm Bob Hill. I'm the Executive Director of the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo County.
What do you have?
The Land Conservancy owns 2 parcels of land at the end of Santa Isabel Avenue, fronting Los Osos Creek. It are 2 parcels of outstanding coastal dune scrub and pygmy oaks, and also there's some very sensitive cultural resources on the property.
What are you doing to protect your property?
As a local land trust, our mission is to permanently protect and enhance lands, and so we're holding the property for conservation purposes in perpetuity. It will never be developed, and our goal is to steward that property and to provide outstanding care while it's under our watch. Over the long term, we will very likely transfer the property into the state park system for the public to enjoy.
Do you have any invasive species being a problem in your...
Yes, we do. As is common in much of the Los Osos area and the Sandy areas, we have a proliferation of the invasive veldt grass on our property. However, it's not very robust in this area. We still have a lot of native dune scrub habitat as well, and so we think it's worth our time and effort to work to treat the veldt grass and hopefully to ameliorate that proliferation of invasive species.
And what do you need from the community?
We would appreciate the community being our eyes and ears on the land, the people who are there every day using the property, seeing the property, to help us understand if there are activities occurring there that might be harmful to the resources, such as illegal dumping, trespassing, off-road vehicle use, dirt bikes, that kind of thing. So we want to make sure that our neighbors are helping us to steward and care for the property. And they can always be in touch with us if they see something that looks like it's not right and might be harmful.
How can they get in touch with you?
Our contact information at the office is 805-544-9096. Our office is in downtown San Luis Obispo. Our website is www.lcslo.org.
Wangari Maathai might have said,
I love trees. I love to play in them by the stream as a child. I wanted to save trees, plant trees, and have trees take root protecting human rights. Destruction of natural resources was a sign something was wrong with government and threat to the security and peace of people all over the world. You know, people's values are what motivate them. I believe in corridors of hope and democracy. I made greenways, greenbelts, buffer zones, and edgelands.
The simple act of planting trees, millions of trees, grew into a national movement in Kenya, Africa. Wangari Maathai won the Nobel Peace Prize.
The next property is jointly managed. The Natural Resource Conservation Service mission is to provide conservation leadership to landowners throughout the U.S. as a part of the Department of Agriculture. And the Coastal San Luis Resource Conservation District is a local and non-regulatory California group. Both easement holders help implement best management practices for sustainability of agricultural land, water quality, and wildlife habitat. They want to stop sediment from filling up Morro Bay and Los Osos Creek, which harms steelhead trout.
I'm Margie Lindquist, and I am the District Conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service here in San Luis Obispo County.
And my name is Linda Chipping, and I am a Director on the Coastal San Luis Resource Conservation District Board.
What do you have?
We have programs that assist landowners putting easements on property, in this case wetland reserve program easements, and they help landowners achieve goals on their property of water quality and wildlife habitat improvement, and specifically in this case, keeping sediment out of Morro Bay.
And we likewise have easements on property that other people own. We also own property that we are protecting. The property that we own, we usually have a management plan, and we follow that guideline to keep it in good shape.
What are you doing to protect your property?
The property isn't really ours to protect. We are an agency that provides assistance to landowner through our programs. So our main function is to make the landowner aware of the program, to describe how it might benefit them in their particular situation, and help them implement the program on their property.
We have a memorandum of understanding with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and we coordinate very much the same type of activities as they do.
And what do you need from the community?
I think what we would like the community to understand and appreciate is the fact that these programs do exist, that they assist landowners right here in their own backyard. And these are federal programs, state programs, local programs, and a really important function is that of the RCD, someone to put all of it together and be the coordinator to make the program go forward.
And I would like the public to know that this natural landscape is very dynamic and is constantly changing, and that we as humans do impact it in the way we work and live, and that it's important for them to remember that natural lands need to be watched and need to be cared for because of our impacts.
Another state park property is the Los Osos Oaks State Natural Reserve. It encompasses 90 acres of ancient sand dune once home to the Chumash Native Americans. State park properties fall into several categories. The natural reserves are areas with outstanding natural or scenic characteristics. They preserve ecological associations, unique flora or fauna, geological features, and scenic qualities. They are kept as nearly as possible in their natural state. Established in 1972, the Oaks Reserve was saved from development by Emily Polk, Ansel Adams, Margaret Owings, Dart Industries Incorporated, Small Wilderness Area Preservation, and the Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund.
My name is Ruvashana. I'm a state park interpreter. I'm the manager at the Morro Bay Museum of Natural History.
What do you have?
The Los Osos Oaks State Natural Reserve has 90 acres of coast live oak, and some of those are centuries old. It's got scrub and chaparral habitat, has some species of special concern, some rare and endangered plants, Morro manzanita. It's also got Morro shoulderband snail and a lot of other characteristics. It's important because it's upland and not contiguous with the bay, so it's a significant habitat for birds and wildlife that are moving through, including the woodland habitat and riparian and associated habitats there. I would like to read the mission statement of California State Parks. The mission of California State Parks is to provide for the health, inspiration, and education of the people of California by helping to preserve the state's extraordinary biological diversity, protecting its most valued natural and cultural resources, and creating opportunities for high-quality outdoor recreation.
What are you doing to protect your property?
Well, first of all, just the fact that it's a state reserve means that it doesn't have campgrounds and a lot of other permanent features except for trails and the parking lot. Some of the issues there, we do have some Cape ivy and veldt grass. These are introduced species. And we cleared Cape ivy in one area back in 2006, but it's grown back and increased. And we'd like to develop some projects with the public to come out and do some more clearing. So far, the community is very respectful of the place. We don't have a lot of serious issues. There are some dead and dying trees, but nothing serious compared to other parks.
Is there anything the community can do specifically to help you guys?
Absolutely. You know, we do have ongoing volunteer programs. Most of those in this area are educational interpretive walks that are guided by docents. We have a trail crew, but a lot of their work is in other parks. But you know, if the public just remembers that everything is protected, and if they remember not to pick anything, gather or collect, and I'd like to encourage people to bring a trash bag and pick up litter they find on the trail and in the parking lot. It's something I do when I go there. We don't have a management fund that people can donate to, but people can contribute to a Central Coast State Parks Association.
Emily Polk might say,
I believed people could swap some luxuries for a share in saving wild areas that were in danger of being developed. Those areas that continue to be wild, you know. A gift of nature is an imperishable gift, never broken, torn, lost, or worn. The gift that given once is given forever. I wanted preserves, core and protected areas, adequate reserve systems. They are the crown jewels, feeding, watering, and breeding places. Places people love.
Emily Polk saved fast disappearing wild areas and created 13 small wilderness area preserves.
The California Department of Fish and Game owns several parcels in the Morro Estuary Greenbelt, including the Morro Dunes Ecological Reserve, a core anchor of habitat for the entire ecosystem. The mission of the Department of Fish and Game is to manage California's diverse fish, wildlife, and plant resources. This includes protection to ensure the survival of all species and their natural communities upon which they depend, for their intrinsic and ecological values, and for their use and enjoyment by the public. Fish and Game also manages the Morro Bay Wildlife Area on the estuary and the Ecological Reserve on Morro Rock.
Hi, I'm Bob Stafford with the California Department of Fish and Game. I'm an environmental scientist with the department, and I cover San Luis Obispo County, all of our lands, as well as all of our wildlife issues.
What do you have?
We have about 286 acres in the Greenbelt area. We started our first acquisitions in 1978, where we got 50 acres adjacent to Montana de Oro State Park, primarily for Morro Bay kangaroo rat. We updated that with acquisitions in 2001, and then again in 2004 with the Bayview piece, which is one piece that is talked about quite a bit. It's the biggest piece that was left at the time we made the acquisition within the Greenbelt, and it connects the Montana de Oro to Los Osos Oaks Reserve, and again, it's that largest piece of the property. It's really important to us because given the loss of sage habitat in maritime chaparral, this is a very good spot and place to do restoration as well as do conservation, which meets our mission.
What are you doing to protect your property?
Well, we're doing a couple of different things. I mean, one thing we're doing is we're working with all the partners in the area. I think one thing that's really important to understand is that none of us exist in a vacuum. Is that one thing on one of our properties affects somebody on the other side, whether that be eradication of veld grass, which is a big issue, or is as much as doing even a trail system, is because we don't want to have a trail that goes into nowhere. So the other challenges we have is we have an urban interface that in a lot of our wildlife areas or ecological reserves, we don't have that issue. So here we have, safety of houses as well as, both ways going back and forth. And so we're working with CDF as well as, or CAL FIRE, as well as state parks on those issues.
What kind of support do you need from the community?
Well, one thing we need from the community is, one thing we have had issues with is, unauthorized trails being constructed. And in some places, some of these trails have gotten to be like 6, 7, 8 feet deep. So what we're wanting to do is work with the community to find a good trail system, and again, across jurisdictions so that it doesn't impact one person or another. It's still allowing access to the, to the facility and to the, the things that we strive as being so important.
We'd like to introduce open space properties owned by the County of San Luis Obispo, managed by the General Services Agency or by the Department of Public Works. The county also partners with local groups, land management agencies, and conservation organizations and contributes to the Morro Estuary Greenbelt. The county's goals are for the overall well-being of the community by ensuring that key parcels are preserved for the long-term benefit and safety of people, and by carefully managing growth while protecting our natural resources.
I'm Bruce Gibson. I'm the 2nd District Supervisor for San Luis Obispo County.
What does the county have?
Well, in the area around Los Osos, we have a number of parcels, big and small. The big ones that I think are really important for this project are a site called the Broderson site, which is about 80 acres, and a site in town that's now called the Midtown site, and that's about 12 acres. Now,
what are you doing to protect these properties?
Well, both of these properties are involved in the Los Osos wastewater project, which we expect to start construction very soon, in a couple of months or so. And at the Midtown site, we have a lot of work to do to bring it back to the habitat that it was before a previous attempt at a project graded it and actually destroyed a good bit of the habitat. So we're going to be revegetating it, where before we do that, we're actually going to be regrading it so that it has more natural contours. Up on the Broderson site, which is 80 acres on the edge of town and butts up against some of the open space that's already there, we actually have to install one of the facilities for the wastewater project, which is a leach field. And as part of the conditions of that permit, we are going to do a lot of habitat restoration up there, trying to really bring it back to what it was and make it work with the habitats that are nearby it. Both of the properties at Midtown and at Broderson are going to be preserved with long-term agreements that are going to keep them in their pristine habitat state for as long as we're operating the project. What kind of support do you need from the community? Well, in the near term, we need the understanding of the community to know that there's a lot of work to be done to get things in place. Over the course of time, the community will be a natural supporter in that there will be costs associated with maintaining these projects that will be passed through to the community as part of their sewer bills. But I think there's a real benefit there as well. In that where we do these restorations, there's going to be chances for public access, and with that, chances for public education. And I think that that's really going to be an opportunity for everybody, young and old alike. There's going to be a lot of wonderful new plants and animals that are going to start showing up in places where we haven't seen them before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Rachel Carson said something like,
I saw birds drop from the sky, and good insects killed along with the pests. Contaminated water which could poison fish and people who swam there. A runoff into a silent spring. I thought of clean water all the time, and beautiful migrations of birds which would no longer exist. I spoke out for ecological integrity, keystone, flagship, and umbrella species. The canaries in the coal mine, who warned, if I die, you might be next.
Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring, which warned of the unintended consequences the use of chemicals had on water, birds, insects, and people. She called them biocides, not just pesticides. She started a green revolution in the 1950s and 60s. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, lived a brave life, and with her transformative writings, she spoke out for us all.
Sweet Springs Nature Preserve is owned by the Morro Coast Audubon Society. It also is a program of important bird areas, a global effort to identify and conserve areas that are vital to birds. Audubon's mission is to conserve and restore natural ecosystems, focusing on birds, other wildlife, and their habitats for the benefit of humanity and the Earth's biological diversity. The local chapter's land policy promotes the appreciation, conservation, and restoration of ecosystems in San Luis Obispo County.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Moonjan, the president of Morro Coast Audubon Society.
What do you have?
We have a number of properties in Los Osos. The most well-used and extensively managed is at Sweet Springs, and we have 32 acres there, 24 of which were acquired in 1992 from the Coastal Conservancy, and an additional 8 that were acquired in 2008, and which we hope to open in the near future when we get through the county process. We have a number of sensitive species on the property, including two federally listed plants, one of which only occurs naturally in Morro Bay any longer. And we have some wildlife that is also sensitive. The federally endangered Morro Band shoulder snail, the southwestern pond turtle, California red-legged frogs, and monarch butterflies. In general, though, the area is just an extensive wildlife refuge area for the wildlife on Morro Bay. What are you doing to protect your property?
Well, we are focused on our mission, which is to restore and appreciate natural habitats, native natural habitats in and around San Luis County, and particularly in Morro Bay. And currently we are undergoing a major restoration project at Sweet Springs Preserve, on the central Sweet Springs Preserve, and we hope to continue the restoration on our newly acquired land. And that involves a lot of invasive vegetation removal and then additional native plantings. And we continue to build infrastructure at Sweet Springs and to provide the best and most natural enjoyment for the community there. We do have some vandalism, and we do have just in general public use issues that we work on daily. But we continue to address those issues in the most context-sensitive way possible.
What kind of support can the community offer?
The community is wonderful, and they volunteer often on our restoration parties the second Saturday of every month. And that involves removing invasive weeds and vegetation and putting in native vegetation. And that includes watering and mulching. We also ask the community respect and appreciate the preserve by picking up their litter, picking up after their dogs, and staying on the trails. As many know, it's a very expensive endeavor to have the preserve and to have it open to the community, so we appreciate any financial contributions that you can do for us to upkeep the preserve. We also have a special Sweet Springs Fund that they can donate to directly.
Our Morro Estuary Greenbelt Wildlife Corridor ends in the anchor of this globally imperiled coastal dune ecosystem, Montana de Oro. This 10,365-acre state park blends the mountain of gold of the coastal chaparral, marine terrace, and 4 miles of sand spit to the ocean. If ever there were a story of the state's mission to protect natural resources and allow opportunity for outdoor recreation, this is it. Enjoyed by locals and international visitors, it is certainly a gem of the Central Coast.
Hi, I'm Regina Orr, and I'm an environmental scientist at Montana de Oro State Park.
Hi. What do you have in terms of your property?
What we have? Well, in 1965, Montana de Oro State Park was purchased by the state of California for use as a park. It was protected because of its spectacular scenery and its many rare and endangered plants and animal species. And we also have a vast array of recreational opportunities. And some of these recreational opportunities include hiking and mountain bike riding and horseback riding along Montana de Oro's 26 miles worth of trails. There's also opportunities for camping and picnicking and fishing and surfing, exploring tide pools, and even bird watching. Because as an important rest stop along the Pacific Flyway, Montana de Oro has hundreds of bird species. And there's also many resident bird species at Montana de Oro, and some of these are rare and endangered. One of these is the western snowy plover, which resides on the sand spit of Montana de Oro year-round. And this small sand-colored shorebird has one of the largest concentrations anywhere, right here on the sand spit. And it's also one of the only of 2 shorebirds that nests on the beaches of California.
What are you doing to protect the property of Montana de Oro?
Well, to protect the western snowy plover, which is Montana de Oro's most sensitive wildlife species, we install symbolic fencing along the shoreline of the sand spit between March and September, which is when the bird is nesting on the beach. But we still allow people out there through our designated corridors, and there's still plenty of room to recreate out there. And this, the symbolic fencing also helps protect several rare plant species that are out there. And it also protects our sensitive coastal dune scrub community out there. And then another issue of concern at Montana de Oro are invasive plant species. And one of our main invasive plant species out there is the eucalyptus, which was planted in 1908 by Alexander Hazard for lumber. But it turned out it didn't make very good lumber. So. And then we also have another invasive plant species that cause a lot of trouble out there, which is belt grass. And that was planted in the 1950s and 60s on ranches, but turned out that it spread really fast and it outcompeted the native plants. So currently, state parks, we're just trying to contain these 2 invasive plant species and keep them from spreading any further.
Are there rules you wish the public would pay attention to specifically?
Yes, it would really help if people would stay on designated trails and obey the signs and stay out of the fenced areas. And then if you're going to be going horseback riding or bicycling, if you would check to make sure that that's allowed on the trail that you want to go on before you head out, that would be appreciated. And then dogs are only allowed on leash in state parks. And at Montana de Oro, they're allowed only at Spooner's Cove, paved parking areas, and the campground. And then if you want more information on Montana de Oro, please visit our park headquarters, which is located in the historic Spooner Ranch House, which is across from Spooner's Cove.
Private property owners can become very excited about preserving a unique habitat on their property. Often they can be supported in efforts to save endangered and threatened species by co-coordinating with scientists from federal and state agencies whose programs assist in management and funding, like a Partners for Fish and Wildlife Agreement, for the recovery of Morro Manzanita, the Morro blue butterfly, native pollinators, and even steelhead trout. These partnerships are particularly crucial to the integrity of wildlife corridors. Private property owners can also address invasive plants, limit overpopulation of raccoons and coyotes, diminish fire hazards, and sponsor student-youth involvement. They can grow nature's garden in their own backyard.
Hi, I'm Marie McCree, and I'm honored to be here today representing private property landowners that are contiguous with the Greenbelt.
What do you have?
You know, I feel very blessed to be on 7.5 very wild acres in Los Osos. So you go over the hill and suddenly there's a vast oak forest. On the east corridor, there's the trail that leads down to Los Osos Creek. At the west, where the chaparral starts, right leading up to the Greenbelt, you have just the amazing sunset that you get to watch go over before it leaves and goes down by the ocean.
What are you doing to protect your property?
Part of what I'm doing is to slow down and really try to get to know it, to take the time to ask the questions, you know, what's needed here? How do we handle erosion? What do we do with the veld grass that's helping hold that slope? How do we bring in more beneficials? How do we keep the balance between the raccoons and the coyotes and, you know, the other animals? So, all that.
What kind of support do you need from our community?
You know, I think some of the support is really in getting to know each other and learning how to work together peacefully. It's important to know who your neighbors are, both in the animal kingdom and in the human kingdom, so that, you know, when there's a cougar in the neighborhood, to know, take your cat in, but to say, wow, we have an alpha predator, how wonderful, because that's going to help the balance really be there in this area. I work with a nonprofit outside now that tries each day to help kids really connect deeply with nature and to learn to tend the wild, to learn what that means so that we can have, you know, ways of living that really bring balance back to this earth.
There are political and planning layers over our preserves, parks, forests, and the corridors running through them. We need connectivity of our government agencies, elected representatives, nonprofits, ecologists, and economists to find common ground for improving management of the life-sustaining environment around us. It is trust and a common vision that provides the glue for collaboration. In 2000, the Partners for the Conservation of the Los Osos Coastal Dunes received the Vice Presidential Coastal America Award. Al Gore wrote a letter of congratulations for outstanding team efforts and said, "The partners brought together federal, state, and local governments along with outside organizations and industry in a cooperative effort to preserve and restore a globally rare combination of coastal dune scrub, maritime chaparral, and wetlands ecosystems. By preserving and restoring critical habitat, the Partnership for the Los Osos Dunes is contributing to the recovery of 11 endangered and threatened species, including the southern sea otter and the American peregrine falcon. Such an approach exemplifies the administration's goals of reinventing government, encouraging partnerships, and better addressing the environmental and economic needs of the country. Please accept my best wishes and hopes for your continued success."
To paraphrase George Schaller,
connecting the gems of the landscape, we combine science, love of nature, maps, and an understanding of what is at risk. What do you see from where you are? Forests with gorillas in Africa and pandas in China? Arctic indigenous hunters traversing the corridors of climate melt? Fish passages of salmon from the tips of watersheds to the wide seas and back? Sea turtle and whale corridors around the global oceans? Parks that move when animals do? Holistic rangelands with herds of antelope, sheep, and big cats? Or even ghost migration paths of species which are gone.
George Schaller's work has resulted in protection of over 20 parks and reserves worldwide, including the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and the Changtang Nature Reserve. He received the Geographic's Lifetime Achievement Award and the World Wildlife Fund Gold Medal. Schaller works within a global partnership for conservation.
We look forward to the next reunion, too.
Yeah, I'd like to try the next time as a roundtable forum where we could all hear each other at the same time.
I'd like to do this in another corridor. Maybe the one Journey took?
We'll see you next year for an update in the network sharing of the corridor property owners, what is new, and how the community came together for the protection of their beautiful and life-supporting surroundings. All it takes is one to start the journey.
Yes, here's Journey again.
You know, it looks like people may tend to think of land as either protected or totally destroyed, but there's a range of opportunities in between. I wonder where the trail I'm on connects to the other Wildway corridors. All these property owners figured out how they are neighbors. I can find passage too, connecting the core preserves with room to roam. For all us trekkers, we need to figure this out together, crossing to safety.
This was a great hike.
Yeah, I got a picture in my head now, a template I can paint like a map. Anywhere I go, I can start to piece together a wildlife corridor.
I can see where the core preserves are, and I've got the next vocabulary list. Priorities, imminent jeopardy, and greatest biodiversity, pristine condition, and the economics of funds, I think. Adjacent to protected lands, wildlife bridges, preserves.
And probably more. Restoration, leave no trace, consequences, and what's this Anthropocene?
If Journey, OR7, can connect the gems, we can too.
I'm wondering what Mr. 007, that is, Journey, is doing now.
You mean the wolf or you?
You never know what you're going to find in the living corridor. Oh, what's this? A wolf track?
We've made quite a few passages through corridors within ourselves, in our minds, in our hearts, and through our local area. And so now, what do you think of when you imagine Wildlife Corridor Partners?